Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to a Hobby Memorial Library and Mayborn Science Theater partnership event. We have CTC Astronomer Warren Hart from the Mayborn Science Theater, and he is going to be taking us through the August night sky. So, hey, Warren, take it
Hey,
away.
okay. Good to see you all. Let's go ahead and Cindy, let's start out. Let's bring up the calendar so everybody can get a understanding of what we're going to be doing. Here is our calendar for August. And as you can see on there, so let's look at that first week, if you would, Cindy, and get up there a little closer. There we go. And then bring it down. Good, good. Uh, Notice keeping in sync with the date of the coming total solar eclipse. So August the 1st will be 616 days yet to go.
Okay.
Then you notice put on Tuesday to access the CTC Library's Astronomy Library Guide. There's the link, and Cindy, I'll let you take it and show them what that looks like and also how to get there and what's there.
Okay. So, if you go to our library website, let's see, all the way down. Our library website and go all the way down to research study guides, then you can find the Astronomy and Mayborn Science Theater. And here's that countdown that Warren talked about till the eclipse. So it's counting down quick, Warren.
It's coming. All right.
Yep, it's coming. It's coming. Yep.
So good. Well, the calendar is on the CTC webpage there for anybody, and you can go and get it, and then you can download it. Everything that we put on there is in PDF format, and you can print it out and keep it for your reference on there.
Yeah, they're right
So,
here. The
uh,
calendars or the constellation maps.
yeah.
Hmm.
All right, all those different things are mentioned for us. So let's look at Wednesday, the 3rd, and the first constellation. There are 8 constellations for August, and this is the first one, and it is Vulpecula the Fox. So Cindy, if you will bring up the page, and you see up at the top there, Vulpecula the Fox. And by the way, the name Vulpecula, all the names of all of the constellations, all 88 of them, are in Latin there. So that means that's the fox. So there we have. And then you see that also I have down that Vulpecula, and that white area on the map there is the area in the sky that the astronomers chose back in 1930 time period would be the area designated for each of the constellations. So here is Vulpecula right there, and all of that in there would be having a reference to Vulpecula, the fox. And you see there's only 2 stars that indicate numbers 1 and 2, and going right across Vulpecula is the Tropic of Cancer. And let's go to the second page, Cindy. Just scroll up to keep going. I say the second page, it's actually the third, I'm sorry. And you will see on there, at the first is the information about the stars, and you read on down in that top paragraph, come down and you see in parentheses there, number 1, there's answer, and then you go down, there's number 2, there's the name of the stars, 13 Vulpeculi, And there's the information about each of those stars. And that's the same on any constellation page. I have the last page has the information that explains what's on the first page there, what all those numbers or letters or whatever else means. And then you come and there's what I put on for help is the name of the constellations that border Vulpecula. And to just start at the 12 o'clock, the northern border of Vulpecula, then going around clockwise, those are the names of the 6 constellations that border Vulpecula. And so the idea that I have on this, if you have a constellation you are interested in, and I will just take Vulpecula as an example, and you'd like to know more about that area where Vulpecula is, and you want to learn more of the sky, if you look on that last page, there are the names of the bordering constellations. So you could, then you see there's Cygnus, and we are going to go to Cygnus in a little while. And there's Delphinus on there, and we're going to do the same because that's in the August calendar here. So that's just for a person's help to help them to begin to learn more about the sky. And if you went to Cygnus, then you would have the page and the information for Cygnus. And then whatever I put on there, the latitude and the Tropic of Cancer and what that means on on the constellation there. Now, if you notice down in the last paragraph of the interesting information, it starts off and it says the first pulsar. That's a type of star that was found. And the first one, and you keep reading over on that same line, was discovered in Vulpecula in 1967. And notice it said because of its regular pulsations, and there's the time, some astronomers were convinced this represented a signal from extraterrestrial intelligence. And so it was given, thus given another name, they said. So they gave it the abbreviation of LGM, which is an acronym for Little Green Men. Well, they found out later that that's not true, but rather than cleaning it up, if you will, they decided just to leave that in there. So anyway, that's just a fun thing that's about Vulpecula there. And if we go back to the first page, just scroll back up, if you would, Cindy, on the page, and you will see down there in the bottom, in the very right corners area, there's LGM over there, the little green men. And the other thing, if you see above the area for the for Vulpecula, right there in the orange that's going across, that is our latitude here at the planetarium. So what that means, everything that's there at that latitude, to see it, you would look straight up. They come straight overhead. So Vulpecula, when it comes up, it's going to be very close to right overhead. Well, let's go back to the calendar, the first week like you had. And by the way, if anybody has a question or a comment while I'm talking or as we're going through, be sure to call it in and Alyssa will take that down and then pass that question or that comment on to me. And when you do have a question, I prefer that you ask the question right then. Do not wait until the end of the time period because you want to ask it now because it's fresh on your mind and we want to deal with it right then. The other thing on the first week there is for the moon, and it is on Friday the 5th. It will be at its first quarter location there, and it begins what is called its waxing gibbous phase. Gibbous also is Latin, and it means hump, H-U-M-P. So if you think of a camel, that's what you're talking about there. And now let's look at the second week. The second week there, I just happened to put in. Then on Monday the 8th, we're 20 months away from the total solar eclipse. And we have the constellation, two of them, Cygnus and Delphinus. So we're going to look at Cygnus first. So Cindy, let's bring up Cygnus. And there's some significant information there. Now, stop right there. You'll notice also that I have way up toward the top, almost at the 60-degree north latitude, there is, and I have it, it says CTC Planetarium's Northern Horizon. And so that orange dashed line there is what would be visible from there down toward the bottom. All of that is visible to here in the sky. And then also the other part is also visible. So we can see all of that, but what is the point of it is that now scroll on up a little more to the top of the page, Cindy, and yeah, there you go. On up to the North Pole star Polaris. Inside that circle, there's a circle there where that northern horizon is. It means that everything from that line on up will be visible every night of the year throughout the year. And what is inside there is called the circumpolar region. And circum means around, to surround, so that's that. And polar, of course, is what that means. So everything up there in Cepheus, Draco, and other constellations, all of that will be visible every night of the year. Now let's go back down to Cygnus, and we're going to have a number of things, and you get an idea here of where Cygnus is as far as the location. Look down just below Cygnus, and there you see Vulpecula. Now, I choose also the constellations for the month. Try to get them that are in a north-south line, and you will notice that as we keep going on here. But here is Cygnus the Swan, and involved in it, Cygnus the Swan, are two asterisms, an ASTERISM. All that means is somebody many years ago or years ago, whatever, decided to connect in their mind some stars in the sky, and they were going to call it something. That was their name. An asterism is a name of a pattern of stars that is not the name of any of the constellations. There is no constellation that would have one of these names. And the first one, if you notice there, and you look over to a little bit to the right, and you see there's a dashed line, and you see the star number 6. And you go from 6 to down to the southwest, and you go to 10, and you keep going southwest, and you go down to number 12. And so that would be a horizontal line, if you will, for some stars. Let's go back to 10, go up to 11, and go back down to 10 and all the way back down to 3. And there you have a vertical line of stars. And if you put that together, you have the vertical line from 11 down to 3. You have a horizontal line from 12 over to 6. And what is it that is being drawn there? What object would that look like? So that is a question I would ask, and for you to call in and say what you think that might be. So that's one asterism that's totally within Cygnus. However, Cygnus is part of another asterism that involves two other constellations. And one of them over there to the right, to Lyra. And you see that larger black circle, and that is for the brighter star of Vega, V-E-G-A, V-E-G-A. And then down off of this chart, way down, there's another constellation called Aquila the Eagle. And in that star, that constellation is a star called Altair. And so if we drew a line from Vega down southwest down to that star Altair, and then from there straight up to Deneb, and then Deneb or number 11 over there to Vega, then you have what we call our summer triangle, or like what I learned in the Air Force, the navigator's triangle. And so that's another asterism, and that one includes 3 different constellations. Now, let's go scroll down to the last page, and I want to bring out some information here for you. And as you look down the numbers, and if you find, first of all, in Cygnus, look for number 10. Let's go down to 10, and there you see the name of the star is Sadr, S-A-D-R, and look way over to the right. And what does it say? It is the largest star this month of the 8 constellations. It is 188 times larger than our sun. And then the other thing in here, we have, if you go up to number 4, you see Theta there, go over to the right. It's the smallest star of the 8 constellation. It's just barely 1.5 times larger than our sun. And then the other thing, there's 3 things here that we have is the dimmest. It's dimmest there, and so in Cygnus. So there's a number of different things about each of the constellations, and I include what I call the 6 extreme stars in each constellation. Which one's the dimmest, the brightest, the closest, the farthest, the smallest, and the biggest in that constellation? So that's additional information for you. And then you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and you see that there's the listing of the 2 of the asterisms, the summer triangle and the northern triangle, the summer triangle, and also the cross, the northern cross. And then there's information included for you in the interesting information about each of those different things. Very good. So that is Cygnus. We can go back up to its page and let's look on the calendar. We see that on the same day is going to be Delphinus, the little dolphin. And you see it right there on Monday the 8th. And we want to look now at Delphinus. And here's little Delphinus. And notice above Delphinus, to give you perspective of where it is just below Vulpecula, where we talked about initially. And so there's the little baby dolphin jumping out of the ocean, and there's the numbers for it. And let's go to its page because we have one more thing about it. And if we look at number 6 there, and we're going to see that number 6, 8 Delphini, that's its name, you go over, there is its dimmest star. And by the way, it's the dimmest star in all of these 8 constellations. Every constellation has the bright and dim and far and close and large and big, that. But this one happens to be number 8 here, happens to be the dimmest star of all 8 constellations. So that's one of the things on that. So let's go back to the calendar. And on the calendar, we're going to go, and you notice on Tuesday the 9th, I have up at the top, and this something is going to happen from Tuesday all the way through to the following Sunday on the 14th. And what's going to happen that morning from midnight, 12:05 up, if you will, to sunrise, is the Perseid meteor shower. And this is the best meteor shower of the year. And so you get a good opportunity to see a good meteor shower each morning there before sunrise. And to give you an idea of where to look in the region, here we're going to bring up for you now the constellation called Perseus. And so Cindy is going to bring this one up, and there it is. And you look up there and you see just above the white area for actually Perseus, there is a 8 point star there that I made, and it says the MSRP1, and that is calling about the meteor central point, called the radial point for the meteor shower. So you find Perseus, and then up at just off the top of his head, over there, you would see the general area of where those meteors would seem to come from. Now, why do we have meteors? Because on our path of Earth going around the sun throughout the year, will be at different times. And here earlier this year, there was a comet that went through in its orbit, if you will, and it happened to go through and intersect our own uh, orbit itself. And as it goes, the comet is constantly dropping off particles of it from its main head and its tail. It's streaming there. Think of this. You are driving in your car or riding in a car on a 2-lane road out in the country. You're going along, it's straight, and you look up ahead and off to your left, coming to go across in front of you up there. There I am in my black pickup, and it's a dirt road I'm on, and I'm kicking up a lot of dust. And I go ahead and go across and go on, keep going to the right there. And guess what you're getting ready to drive through? You're going to drive through my dust. And that's the same thing as what Earth does. We drive, we orbit, and go ahead through the dust of that comet that went through there. So that will give you an idea. Let's go back to the calendar, and you want to make a note, and you can download the calendar, print it out as you wish there. And there's some more information. And the moon on the Wednesday the 10th is going to be at perigee location. And I'll ask you, what does that mean? And you tell Alyssa, and we'll see what your answer is. Now, well, let's go on. The sun on its own, it is orbiting as far as what we're looking at, and it goes into Leo the lion, but we can't see it because we can't see anything in the sky where if we look at the sun. Now the moon there has gone from the first quarter, and it's now at it as or the down to the full moon, and it is now going from a waxing gibbous to a waning gibbous as far as the moon. So that's what's going to happen. Another thing there, planet Uranus. Now I put it on there, even though this is for though you can supposedly be able to see it without binoculars or a telescope, just with your eyes, only you could see Uranus. The farthest planet we can see with our eyes is if you were in a very dark place, no moon, and no other light from any nearby cities, towns, vehicles, or anything. And you would have to know where Uranus is and what constellation it's going to be in, because it is so far away, it's going to look like a teeny little star. And only that you would be able to pick it out is if you knew what stars are part of that constellation it's in, and then you could see this, we'll say trespasser, this planet Uranus that's right there. It's very hard to find, but uh, anyway, I just put it in for those who want to try. And of course, if you have binoculars or a telescope, then you have a better chance of being able to find it. Let's go on to Saturday the 13th, and there is our next constellation. So we've had Vulpecula is number 1, Cygnus number 2, Delphinus number 3, Microscopium. Here is number 4. So let's go to Microscopium. And here we got, now we have some new things that we didn't have in the earlier constellations that we were looking at. First, you see up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little part of the area that would include what is called the ecliptic. Now, what that is the path of the sun as we would track it through the sky. And that information is, of course, on the last page here of Microscopium. And then we have, notice, the Tropic of Capricorn. Oh, but that's down in the southern hemisphere. And you would see that information. Here is Microscopium. And so if you want to make a microscope out of that, I would be interested in your drawing and how you're able to do that and what you would visualize with it. So that's it. And we have, of course, the second page or the last page with the information on all 5 of those stars. And then you see about the Tropic of Capricorn. And my error, I didn't put on there the ecliptic, and I apologize for that. So let's go back to the calendar. We're through with our first 2 weeks. Now we're going to look at our third week, and we're going to have another constellation, and the last day on Sunday the 14th of the peak of the Perseid meteor shower. That doesn't mean that on Monday the 15th, 16th, there's no more, but they're not going to be as traditionally, there's not going to be that many because we have gone through the peak of it. And another thing that's on there that you can see, and it will be good to look at, is on Sunday the 14th, planet Saturn is at opposition, which means that is Earth is it's going to be visible at night when we look at Saturn. And so that night will be an ideal time all night that you should be able to see the planet Saturn there in the night sky. And to give you what that means, if we backed off away from Earth and we looked way out in space and we saw Saturn off on our left, we look down in front of us, there is Earth, and to your right is the sun. So that's how we would line up from the sun to Earth to Saturn. And so Saturn is on the opposite side of the sun from us, and that's why this is an ideal night to view Saturn. Let's look at Capricornus, our next constellation, and I believe this should be number 5. There you are, Capricornus, called the sea goat, or some call it the fish goat, but there you have it. And here is the ecliptic. We have a little bit more of it here, and also our southern Tropic of Capricorn. And there are all the numbers for those stars. And let's scroll down to the last page, Cindy. And I should have, and there it is in blue. You can see there is the information about the ecliptic that I failed to put for you there in the other one. The apparent path of the sun against the star background over the course of the year. So each of the things that we have, uh, and there's information that I believe you may find interesting on that. And now go back up just a little and stop at the page here. You notice asterisms. And I put in for myself there, the great smile. So let's go back and look up at the constellation page. The way I see it and the way I learned it is, if you will, I will take the outside border of all of those stars. And I'm going to start, first of all, over on the right with number 4. That's my upper right corner. I know they've got a little thing sticking out, but I'm going to just leave that right there. So we're going to go from 4 to the left over to 9 to 11 to 14, 15, and then you start down southeast. You go to 13, 12, 10, 7. Now you're going to come back up 6, 5, and 4. And so mentally, in your mind, if you put those together, you see Capricornus having his mouth wide open and smiling at you. It's right there. So that's the way I see it in the sky, and that's the way I describe it when we're at the planetarium looking at Capricornus in the dome, the great smile. Okay, let's go back to the calendar. We're still in our third week. Now, as on the 17th, 600 days until the total solar eclipse. Now, we have one more constellation here, and that's our number 7, and it is Indus the Indian. So let's go to Indus, if you will, and we take a look at that, and let's see what we have here. Indus. Well, we've skipped over. Hold
Yeah,
on.
we did.
Go back up to the map. I'm looking. I overlooked totally my error, and I know he's not happy with me. Equilius, the little horse or the pony, and there you have him there, and 4 stars. So there's not a whole lot, and you see uh, there at the very top of the page, the third line, it is the 46th brightest and the 88th largest spherical area in the sky. Well, there's 89 spherical areas, so this is the next to last smallest. That's what that means. And 46, it's more than, it's less than in the second half of all this, the brightness in the sky, it's in the dimmer part of it there. So that's my error. And there is, then you would have the 4 stars in Equilius. Now, we have Equilius, the little horse, or the pony, however you want it. And notice, look up ahead, look up above it to the right. There's Delphinus, there's our dolphin. And then you go on up, and there is the Tropic of Cancer. We are now in the northern hemisphere. And down below Equilius happens to be the equator. So there it gives you a relation to where it is in the sky. Now let's go back to Indus, if you will here. Now, In Indus, we have, this is the Indian, and notice where he is, if you will. Here's all of that white part is what's designated for Indus in the sky. And we're pretty fortunate that all of what is labeled here is that we can see, because now look at the orange line, and I have on there the CTC Planetarium's southern horizon. Now, here's what's different. When we looked at the northern horizon a little bit ago and we talked about, I said you can still see everything. That's just the horizon. You can look up in the sky and you can see all of that area, the circumpolar area around the North Pole. But you can't when you look down here in the south. And what that means is this is the southern horizon, and everything from there on down we will never see unless you travel south or you come to the planetarium and we show you. So let's scroll down to the page on Indus, and we have our last two stars I want to talk about. Keep going on down. There you go, Cindy. Thank you. And I want us to look at number 9, the very last one. And the two things that I want to draw your attention to over there is at 11.8 light years, it's the closest one of all the stars in the constellations that we're talking about this month. And also at 0.79, it's not even as large as our sun, that star. It's smaller than our sun. It is the smallest of all of the other constellations, small stars. So there you have that information there for you. Let's go back up to the calendar. We'll finish here. We have one last constellation to go, but let's see, there's the moon, and it's gone from a full moon, and now it's in the third quarter position, which means you're going to see it in the morning. You will watch it in the morning when you get up to go to work, or you're getting up to go out and get the mail, or what. When you see the moon in the morning, then it's in its third quarter uh, phase, if you will, there. Now, the last constellation that we have is the constellation of octans, the navigator's octant. And let's go to that page, if you will, Cindy. And here it is, and notice what's significant about it. It is the only constellation that straddles and uncovers, if you will, the South Pole. So here we have in this, we have this area, and we will never see it unless you travel far enough south that you can see that region of the sky. Now, all of us know, or pretty well know, that we have here in the northern hemisphere where we live, the North Pole star in the sky we call Polaris. Well, you can read on here, the South Pole also has a Polaris. And let's go to the second page, if you will, and let's get the information on it. And if you notice, it is number 2. And its name would be, all in Latin, Polaris Australis. Polaris, all that means in Latin is pole, star, and Australis, south. That's it. So for our Polaris in the North Pole, if we wanted to do the same, it would be Polaris Borealis, pole, star, north. So here you have number 2 is Polaris Australis, and there you have in it. It is also, of course, it is the southernmost star. It's, let's see, as we would figure up here, it's 1 degree and 8 minutes away from the actual South Pole in the sky. We're fortunate that our North Pole star, Polaris Borealis, is less than 3/4 of 1 degree from the pole in the sky. So we are very fortunate. And then there's your other information that you can refer to. So let's go back to the calendar. And we finished up the first page. So now let's quickly, we'll go through the second page. And this, as you can tell, will not take a whole lot of time. On Monday here of the 22nd, the moon is now at its apogee. And oh, it's also the sixth farthest of this year's 13 apogee or apogeal moons. And so there you see it there. So that gives you an idea of what an apogee means. Now on the 24th, that's Wednesday. And Cindy, what does all this mean here on the 24th?
Oh, well, this means that we're going to go ahead. Oh, it's our next one.
Yeah,
But I'm thinking Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think,
I think you
is it on
changed
the
the date.
24th? Yeah.
I, we, we've
All right.
changed
Let
the
me
date.
check. Let
Yeah,
me check.
and
Hang
I
on.
didn't change it on the calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm looking.
So bring
Let's
up
see.
the main uh,
Yes.
CTC
It,
page,
oh,
and
no,
we'll make
it's
that.
right. It's right. It's
Okay.
September that we moved. So, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So, our next one will be on Wednesday, August the 24th.
Okay.
And you can always check with us. Uh, the thing is in my way. That's why I'm struggling to make it go away. Whoa. All right. So it's on our library events page, and you can always check out the upcoming dates. Sorry about that. The
That's all
WebEx
right.
was fighting me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. And there's 7 constellations for us for September as we're going through. Now, notice we have on the 27th, Saturday, the 27th, and we have a number of things there. We'll just real quickly, that planet Mars, and there's the time it's going to rise in the sky. And you're going to see, you want to look at it at that 12:26, that's just after midnight, and you can keep watching it before sunrise because it will be leading the sun. It will rise before the sun comes up. So that will be helpful. You can see Mars before the sun. Then later, 3:17 a.m., there's the moon, and the moon is finally gone from a third quarter. It's now at the new moon, and it begins its new orbital phase. And then we have the planet Mercury, and notice it's at 11:04 a.m., which you say, Warren, why in the world you put that there? You know we can't see it. The sun is up. Well, let's keep following down and let's see if I can redeem myself. It rises at the easternmost elongation, which means Mercury will be trailing the sun. And keep going. It's going to say, I say here, it will be best viewed after sunset, which is 8:30 p.m. for the sun, and you have approximately an hour and 15 minutes to locate the planet Mercury because it is trailing the sun. Notice up at the top there, planet Mars, it is leading the sun. So you have to pay attention to which one, what it's doing. Then the last thing is on the Saturday, there on the 27th is when I'll do the night sky tour of September's 7 constellations. Now we can scroll down to the bottom of the calendar, and there is nothing else in the August page. And then there is just, I've already started giving you what's going to begin happening in September. So, are there any questions or comments that we need to go over again for anybody?
Let's see if there's any in Facebook.
No
No
questions.
questions. I have a
Okay.
question.
You have a question.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have been looking at the images on the web um, thing.
Okay.
Wait,
Okay.
that's out there. That the images are way clearer than Hubble.
Okay.
Um,
The James Webb. Yes.
yes, the James Webb
Okay.
camera.
Telescope. Uh-huh.
And they are showing such clear images
Mm-hmm.
of these massive galaxies everywhere.
Okay.
And I just kind of want to know how you feel about this
Well,
because we're little teeny tiny compared to everything we're now able to
oh
see.
yeah. Well, the other reason to why it is so clear is because they are looking at a different wavelength visible that we look through when we're looking at Hubble. Hubble is looking at the sky with the same wavelength that we use our own eyeballs. But they are looking in James Webb at infrared and ultraviolet. And so they are able to get more precise on those. And then, like you say, uh, the James Webb, it's to look at stuff that is far, far away. And because of the infrared and the ultraviolet, it is able to pick up things that we would just say is going to be very difficult, fuzzy, or whatever for Hubble, because it was not designed to do that.
Well, how far away are they looking? These
As
things.
far as they can see.
Well,
Uh,
like within miles. How far away is
oh,
this?
miles? Well,
I
we'll
don't know,
have to
light
convert.
years. How far away
Okay.
is this?
Well, it'll be in the range of 14 to 15 billion light years.
Wow.
Now, there is a point, and I did read about it, and I failed to write it down, and I'll have to find it again, that was calculated of what is the limit of what we can see. In other words, how long that will, based on how long is the universe, that anything that's older than our universe, which if there's whatever else is still out there, we will never see because it takes too long to get here.
But what we're looking at now, isn't that gone? Like,
No,
or is that the past?
no. Well, we're looking. Yes. What? Remember, you're always looking into history when
Mm-hmm.
you look into the sky. So the only thing we can say is the light, the from all of those stars that they emitted their radiation at ultraviolet, infrared, and what all the other frequencies, that we were able to pick that up, and it has taken 13.8 or 12 billion light years to get here. And it's just like we get the same question in the planetarium every once in a while. Well, is that still there? Well, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It, if let's say something, we'll just take 10 billion light years that it goes out, it extinguishes itself. In other words, we would have to have 10 billion years before we would know, oh, it's gone.
Wow. That's just mind-boggling.
Yeah,
It's
you
totally
always,
mind-boggling.
everything in the sky, you're looking into history. We don't see where the moon is. We see where it was about a half a second ago. We don't see where the sun is. We see where the sun was about 8.5 minutes ago. We don't see where the planets are, how many miles or light years away are. So the same thing and the whole thing is you get asked about the sun. Well, when it goes out, will we know? Yeah, in 8.5 minutes. That's how
It
long it
just
takes for the
blinks
light to
out,
get
you
here.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, if or whatever event that you're talking about,
Uh-huh.
it depends on how far away it is from us, and then we have to figure how long does it take light to travel. It's hard for us to understand light travels because here on Earth, everything virtually is instantaneous. You go
Mm-hmm.
over to the switch on the door, you click the switch, and it's on. Okay, well, there is a fraction of a time point that it takes that light to come on and that light from wherever the bulb is to travel to your eyeball. But uh, it's so small amount of time that we're we predominantly we think in instant time.
Mm-hmm. So when we're looking at the web images,
Yes.
um, they may not even be there anymore.
That we don't know.
The
We
sky.
wouldn't know. Well, we
Yeah.
we look at and the astronomers are calculating how far away was it, and if it's in billions of light years, we'd have to say, well, okay, would that have reached us? Well, it's only reached us now, and it's billions of light years away. We will never know if it's not there.
Wow. That's just mind-boggling. Yeah, guys, start checking out those images on that. They've been publishing it a lot, the images on the internet, and it's just fascinating.
Yeah,
So, but then I'm thinking I'm looking at real-time stuff, and I'm finding out now that it's
it,
not it.
it's
It's
real
not it.
time of what we just see. Yeah. By the way, we have two major observatories in the sky. We have an older one that's been out for a longer time, SOHO, SOHO, let's see, Solar Heliospheric Observation. And what we did is we put uh, a Hubble, a telescope, out in space in between us and the sun. And it's at a position which is with gravity, it's at a point that the gravity of the sun and the gravity of Earth plus the moon keeps it at a constant position. So it doesn't have to use up all its fuel to keep trying to stay in place. It's going to run out of fuel eventually. But we're going to then do that. And it's looking always at the sun. And the reason we want it to look at the sun is because that it will give us a heads up if there's going to be a solar radiation storm coming our way that we need to get ready for. And on the other side, between us and the sun, on the backside of Earth, is the James Webb, and it always looks
Oh,
away
that's what you
from
can.
the sun.
Oh, there you are. There
Yeah,
you are.
so
We're losing it.
it's looking away from the sun.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah,
Okay. Well, it looks like we're losing some of our internet juice all over the place,
okay,
Warren. So we're going to go
okay,
ahead and leave. And if you guys have any questions, make sure you leave it in the comment section and we'll get it to Warren.
okay,
So, Warren, thank you so much for giving us all that information. And
okay.
I love talking space. I love hearing about what's out there. Guys, just go out at night and look up. You
Yeah,
can see it even in the city.
yeah,
So, start finding where you are in the world and look at
Yeah,
those images and just think about, we're just this little bitty place
yeah. And
compared to
if
that.
you're wondering, do I slobber when I eat? What this is right here, I went last week and I visited a dermatologist, and guess what? He came in with his little bottle of liquid nitrogen and he just zapped me in all over places and one here right on the lip. And so, theoretically, the next time when I get on, I won't scare you, and I don't slobber much when I eat or drink.
No,
So I
no,
don't want to scare you away. Now, this had been ideal for Halloween.
you're fine. You're fine.
All
So,
right.
all right. Well,
Anyway,
I hope you get
appreciate seeing
better,
all of
and
you.
we will see everyone next week. Thank you again. Make sure to check out our events page. We have some more upcoming events, so check us out and see what we've got going on. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And Alyssa, if you will take us out. All right.